Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished professional from Valencia, Spain, Mr. Bart van Grinsven. Bart, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Bart is, in his own words, a dreamcatcher and a Lifeshaper. He's the founder of Flow and Matter. So, Bart, tell me a little bit about your own journey in brief.
Well, I started out in sales a long time ago, about 20 years ago. And then I had a company in fashion together with my wife where we helped retailers, big and small retailers, with their collections. So we were actually distributing menswear collections. And we reached a certain point, but we still had this dream inside of us, like, hey, there's something else that we want to do. My wife is Spanish. We always had this dream to live abroad. We were living in Belgium at the time, and we wanted to move to Spain. And we felt like for us, the business had its limits. But nevertheless, after exploring several options of moving to Spain, we have three kids, so that wasn't really an obvious jump to take. We decided to expand the business up until a point that in 2019, my wife we were standing in a hotel room right before a collection presentation, and she tells me, Bart, I'm actually done. I can't handle it anymore. And so it was right in front of the most important period of of the year where people come to buy the collections, and it was some sort of a mini crisis. So that really triggered a lot of events that made us shift our entire life. And as so often, the universe then hands you what you need.
Yeah.
And half a year later, we were living where we are living now, and it felt like a fantastic change.
Oh, amazing.
That's in a very brief nutshell. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what is the story behind the founding of Flow and Matter? And what inspired the shift in career?
Well, we've got coached along the way of this trajectory, and that's how I got in contact with coaching. I find it extremely liberating that you can have an open conversation with somebody about your thoughts, fears, and doubts, but also that somebody holds you a mirror and shows you what is possible, because your regular environment doesn't always do this. That got me curious. When I arrived here in Valencia, I didn't really have a plan. I really wanted to have this white canvas to see what I was going to create. But naturally, it flew into that direction. And so I got coach training at the Coach Institute in Australia, got my degree also with the ICF. And that's how I got into coaching. And funnily, my environment was like, Bart, you've been doing this all your life since we know you. So it's a natural match. And this is how it feels to me as well. Flow and Matter, I found it because I believe that it's important to lead a life which is in flow, and to create it around the things that matter to you. And the matter is what matters to you, but also the tangible part of the matter, like the things that you can touch. So it's more or less of it's a word game.
Amazing, absolutely. So, you do a lot of support and coach a lot of entrepreneurs. So my next few questions are for entrepreneurs. Many entrepreneurs feel stuck in their roles. What are some common signs that someone is out of alignment with their work and they need a coach?
I think it's the inner turmoil that they notice, and it's a bit like a frog in the water. The water starts to get warmer, and all of a sudden you feel like it's boiling. And at first you don't notice, but it shows as anxiety, waking up with sweating sometimes, just having this unrest in your body, stress, deteriorating relationships with your employees, but also with your loved ones, which is often even more impactful. These things really, it always manifests some kind of way in their personal life. And there are so many entrepreneurs that although they are successful, they are divorced, or they have a bad relationship. So then they have maybe a lot of money, but they're not happy. They have alienated from their kids. All these things are symptoms of something that has started much, much earlier.
That's true. And one of course you said was when there's stress in their lives, they do tend to show that. But are there any other common challenges a lot of entrepreneurs face when they're trying to reconnect with their deeper desires?
I think there are many, not in the least bit. Our conditioning is standing in our way. We are conditioned since a very young age to comply to external standards, and there's very rare opportunities where we are invited to look in our inner world to ask ourselves the deep question: what it is that I want?
Mm.
If you would take away everything that you have, and this question remains: what is it that you would do if you would not have all these heavy responsibilities? Yeah. If you would have more of a lightness?
Okay. And when I was reading about you and preparing for my conversation, I was fascinated by this thing of defining one's essence. How do you define essence, and how can entrepreneurs rediscover this in the middle of their daily lives?
That's a very good question. You don't find the essence at first, I think, in the middle of your busy daily lives. Finding your essence requires you to slow down, to deliberately create space for this. And that's what makes it so hard, because we live in a society which merits being extremely busy, back-to-back meetings, and always running. And the first thing that we really need to do is take a step back, or create the time to take this step back, and then start to feel what we feel inside. And then in combination with the questions and everything that arises, the essence pops up pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. But then it's a matter of allowing that, giving yourself permission to embrace this.
Right. Well said. And why do you think there are so many successful entrepreneurs who feel unfulfilled? And you also said a lot of them get divorced despite their incredible business achievements.
I think this is because their success is based upon the wrong metrics. Mm-hmm. I think as a human being, we all want to be seen. We want to develop ourselves. But a lot of people in their youth haven't been seen. And so I quite often encounter entrepreneurs who have created a massive business, so their dad sees them, so they get acknowledged, yep, or their mom. And so we all want to be held and cared for, even if we're at the top of the food chain, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so this is a very strong driver, but it doesn't solve this big aching, this hole that you have in your heart for deep connection.
Mm. You have also developed the positive intelligence framework. Tell me a little bit about this framework, and how does it support your coaching methodology?
Well, I have to correct you on this one, because I haven't developed it.
Okay.
I'm using it. It's Shizat Shamin who developed it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a very, very powerful tool that merges a lot of ancient wisdom together with data into a very user-friendly system, which allows you to identify your negative self-talk and also the way you talk to others. It identifies your saboteurs, like the negative voices that are in your head, your judge that judges you, the situation, or others. And this is a lot of times, it's, for me, I use it as a foundation, because it's the first step of breaking negative patterns and also stepping out of the guilt. You basically get your personality away from this negative feeling and this negative self-talk. Mm-hmm. The liberating part there is that it gives you clarity to start looking at your own life and at your own feelings from a different angle. And it gives you peace of mind, which immediately enhances the way and it improves the way you talk to others as well. And it enhances the relationships. Not in the least bit with yourself, by the way.
Yeah, well said. And what role does nature play in your retreats, Bart? And why do you believe nature is such a powerful tool for transformation?
Because we have developed in nature for millions of years. We are nature. And I think since the Industrial Revolution, we have somewhat alienated from that. But if we're outside, I literally tell this to my clients, if you walk through a forest, it's like the caring, it's like your mother holding you, the caring brush of your mother. And what happens is all your senses get literally touched.
Yeah.
It makes you feel safe and quiet. And there's a lot of pheromones in the air and scents and sensorial stimulations, which are very gentle, other than if you would go into a storm, of course.
Yeah.
But that makes that you immediately quiet your nervous system. And this creates a whole space to open up for more profound conversations. You're basically coming home.
Okay. And when it comes to coaching, what is the role of mindfulness? And how does mindfulness enhance personal growth for individuals?
It creates the awareness, I think, that we need to slow down and to see the essence in an extremely overstimulating, busy world. It helps you to ask the question, is this true? Where do I feel this? And what can I do with this? And letting things go. And if you do this on a continuous basis, also there, you become more empowered and more liberated.
Okay. How do you encourage entrepreneurs to embrace and trust their own unique gifts in a world that promotes conformity?
Well, most of them have created already something out of unconformity. And what happens is a lot of people start their business when they're young or out of some kind of a friction or an opportunity. But then they are the founder or the entrepreneur, and little by little they grow into a managerial role. And just to see this and accept this, that they don't have to be this, that it's the creative part that evoked this whole idea to start with, is one step. Another step is really making them feel that what truly matters for them inside is still as valid as it was on day one, and they can still use that in their role in the business.
Moving on, what strategies do you use to help clients overcome their own inner saboteurs or their own mental blocks?
Well, there is the deep conversations that we're having. And of course, we're not always in conversation. So a lot has to do with creating awareness of the situations which they are encountering in their everyday life. But it's a very much a bespoke thing. I work one-on-one with my clients. So every situation is a bit different. And sometimes it's just a very little crack that pops up in a conversation that is the rabbit hole into another world, which shifts everything. And they work then afterwards with that and integrate that into the new insights into their day-to-day life. It's a gradual process, which is, I think, you can compare it with investing, with dollar cost averaging. Sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down, but in the long run, you really reach these heights because you stay in motion.
Correct. But would you be able to give me an example of how you help someone to handle their mental blocks? And I don't want any names, of course.
Well, one of the clients that I remember was somebody who was working in the financial world. And the day I met him, that was in a wedding, and he was sacked that very day. And he had been working in finance for about 20 years, I believe it was. And it was his whole identity. And so after a few months of working together, in a conversation, he asked me, like, so I really want to make this change. And eventually he also did. But is this something that people in my line of work do? And so it was really the point, like, can I allow myself to do this and stepping into this? Eventually he did. He sold his house, moved to another place, bought a wine shop, which was his dream. And he's so much more aligned.
Amazing.
Happy. He's an entrepreneur now. And also the kids have a different father. His wife has a different husband. So very, very positive shift.
Amazing. And how can entrepreneurs cultivate more authentic connections in both their personal and professional relationships?
By opening up and being vulnerable. not wanting to have all the answers,
Mm.
but showing that you don't have them and showing that you are also just a human being. I
Mm.
think it's one of the most powerful things that you can do as a leader.
Very interesting.
And it's scary.
Absolutely. My next question, I have time for three more questions. How does the process of aligning talents with purpose help entrepreneurs make a more meaningful impact?
Well, I believe that we are all born with talents and gifts,
Mm-hmm.
and we're actually given stewardship over them, just like you are given stewardship over the children if you have any. In the end, you raise them and you let them go. With the talents, I think it's the same. It's something that you cultivate, and with it's your toolbox to create a better world.
Mm.
Once you look at it from this point of view, something that for you is so obvious
Mm.
and not even special in a lot of cases
Yeah.
gets a whole different value. I think it's super important to realize this, because the moment you start embracing this, you also allow others to step into the zone of genius as well. And so this shifts a lot of things.
Mm. So, you just gave me the example of one of your clients who was stuck and opened a wine shop and, completely changed his life. For my viewers and listeners, I'm going to ask you for one more example of a story where there was a transformation and the person found alignment after being stuck.
Well, I have one of my last clients was somebody who created a very successful business, and he felt like this business didn't fit him anymore. He's still full in the process, but he's made, when he came to me, he was really full of anger and resentment.
Hmm.
And this has completely shifted. He is now in a place of quiet where he chooses, he will make some radical changes.
Mhm.
But at the same time, new ideas are emerging. And yeah, you also see that he becomes a better example to his children.
Hmm.
Again, a better husband to his wife. Everything shifts in a
Hmm.
positive sense. Whereas at the beginning, he really felt stuck with no way out.
Very interesting. And my last question for you, Bart. How do you stay aligned with your own essence? And what personal practices support your ongoing growth?
Well, I try to go out as much as possible on my mountain bike or my pedal board here at the sea. Hiking is also important. I meditate regularly, and I have several coaches for different aspects in my life, because your whole life is basically linked. So I try to work with experts in every field, and I'm also in different programs where I keep developing myself. And apart from that, I'm an avid reader.
Very interesting. And on that note, Bart, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for speaking to me about flow and matter. Thank you also for speaking to me about entrepreneurs and how you help them navigate a lot of the challenges which every entrepreneur faces. Thank you for speaking to me and good luck to you.
Thank you for your time, Ashutosh.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.